Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Y Factor Leadership Unlocked. I'm your host, Spencer Collier, and I'm really glad you're here. Many factors came into starting this podcast. Those factors that influenced my leadership style and skills are based off of my faith as a Christian, being a husband, being a father, and being a coach. Leadership is one of those things that can totally change your life and the lives of people around you. It's not just about having a title or running a team. It's about helping people grow, push through challenges, and learning about yourself along the way. I've been lucky enough to be a part of all kinds of teams all over the past 20 years, from coaching elementary age soccer when I was in high school to now leading a group of more than 250 adults who lead others. And through it all, one thing's become clear. There's no one right way to lead. Everyone has their own style, their own story, and their own lessons learned. That's what this podcast is all about. Hearing from people across different businesses and walks of life, and learning how they've approached leadership. Today's special for me as we have one of my friends and colleagues, Alexia Clifton. Alexia Clifton is an accomplished operations leader and entrepreneur based in Maryland, recognized for her strong background in recreation management, wellness programming, and community-centered leadership. With experience spanning both public sector recreation and private fitness entrepreneurship, she brings a dynamic blend of strategic oversight, programmatic development, and people-focused coaching to every role she takes on. As an area operation manager and director/specialist for facilities and programs at Montgomery County Recreation now, Alexia oversees complex recreation initiatives that serve diverse communities across the region. Her work reflects a commitment to creating accessibility, high-quality programs that promote health, engagement, and personal growth. Beyond her public sector leadership, Alexia is also the owner of No Sweat Fitness. Her expertise spans leadership, development, coaching, teaching, and public speaking. Alexia's career is marked by her ability to inspire teams, elevate community programs, and build environments where people feel empowered to thrive. Most recently, she received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Institute of Fitness Educators. We're going to talk today about what leadership means to her, the ups and downs, and everything in between. So let's get started. Welcome, Alexia. And I just want to start too. The impact you've also had on my life has been extremely a blessing. We've known each other now, I think, 5-6 years, and just really wanted to start sort of in that realm. So thank you for coming. And wanted to bring in how did we get connected, and tell us a little bit about yourself in that process.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Spencer. It's my pleasure. One, I'm getting to reconnect with you on a personal level. It's been way too long since I've seen you. And we met during an interview that I had when I was interviewing for a position with Fairfax County government. It was at the end of a day. It was a long day. And anyone who knows me knows that I am ever present with my cup of coffee. And I came into the interview, and Spencer was there and some other people that were on the interview panel. And I came in with my coffee and said, I know it's a long day. I'm tired. You guys are probably tired too. So I have my coffee. I hope you don't mind. It was a great interview, and there was something about you being there that I just felt like I like this guy. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was your smile just seemed genuine. I don't know if I felt like you could just connect to the fact that I'm authentically myself, and I could tell that you were too. But I just felt like this guy kind of gets me. And so from there, I knew that whether or not I got the position, I kind of wanted to connect with you. And so it was really cool that I did get the position. And so we ended up working together, both as directors at that time. But then as you kind of moved up the ladder, you were my supervisor, which was really cool because there's a big age difference between us. And for a lot of
Small difference,
it's
small
big.
difference. It's small. Alexia, come on now.
For a lot of people, that was the first interesting thing about us. For a lot of people, that would have been an issue. I'd had a lot of experience with management and everything, but there were things that you had done that I hadn't. There were things that I had done that you hadn't. And neither of us found that to be a barrier in you being my supervisor. So I think we were just always able to find a connection within each other and how we wanted to work. And I think that people who fall into the category of leaders naturally just see that in each other. So that's how we met, but I think that's what has kept our friendship and our connection going because I can not speak to you for months or years, but when I do, nothing is ever lost for me. It feels like I just picked up where we left off or after not seeing you for a day. And that's why we're going to try not to laugh our way
No,
through this because the laughter is the baseline for everything.
no, it's funny because you stated how you remember our first interaction was not how I remembered it in the aspect of I felt like I was exhausted. I'm glad I came across happy and excited because I think you were interviewed like 8 or 9 on that day.
Yes.
And so, but yeah, yeah, and like you stated, I was on the panel, but I was interviewing as a peer. There was someone else on the panel that was our supervisor at the
Hmm.
time. And so it was very interesting to be a part of it. And obviously, it was really neat. And I'm glad that we had the opportunity to then work together
Hmm.
for a decent, I want to say almost a little over 3 years.
Hmm.
And so that was really interesting. And you had stated too, and I want to go down that path before I start going to another question, is that you have had experience in different sectors, public, private, from Baltimore to other cities, and want to hit that a little bit before we start going to something else. But how do you describe the management of being in Baltimore, right?
Hmm.
Leaving that style or that different people that you've learned from there, and then previously like what has influenced from those individual episodes, even in Fairfax County, the leadership style that you've either added or tweaked about? Because we've talked about it in offline of like where you're constantly growing as a leader. So like, what are some things that influenced you before coming to Fairfax County to even want to take that role? Because when when I was interviewing you, I was like, this lady's not going to want to do what we do. You got like 25 years of experience.
Right.
You're gonna come work with me at a director level at one building. And
Right.
so just thinking about that too, of like, hey, in all reality of like you stated it like, hey, I want to work with this person, but like what made you even assume like have that gut or that feeling from past experiences to be able to pull into then?
Right. And I do remember you telling me that later. Well, a couple of things. One, I've always been the kind of person who not only professionally wanted to grow and feel content, but personally as well. I had an entire different career before I even got into fitness, wellness, and recreation. My degree is in public relations management. I was an account executive at a PR firm. I like talking, and if you know me, you kind of know that, and writing, and I did that, and then I thought, I'm probably not the type to sit down at a desk for 40 years and write ad copy and press releases. I lived in LA at the time. So I said, well, let me join a gym and figure out what I want to do. Well, I had someone who was teaching group exercise. I didn't think she was very good. And I thought, well, what do I need to do to be good in this? I think I could probably teach that class. I'd always liked to dance. Next thing you know, I got my fitness certification and started teaching group exercise. From there, I knew, okay, this is the kind of thing I'd like to be doing because it just influenced so many people in terms of their health and feeling empowered and better about themselves. So, in whatever way I could have that influence, private sector, public, I wanted to do that. And so for a long time, I did it in the private sector in Baltimore and in Howard County, Columbia. I was a general manager of a fitness center, and I had already started doing some personal training. When I was doing that, I was approached to do some work for the city of Baltimore with recreation and parks. Loved that too. It gave me a feeling of doing that for the public that I didn't have when I did private sector fitness. And so the longer I wasn't doing that, the more I missed it. And so by the time I got to Fairfax County, I was really missing doing that and just wanted to explore a different place. So I
Yeah.
didn't have that satisfaction anymore, and I wanted to get that. And it's interesting that you say that, Spencer, because as I've moved along in my career and done other interviews, I have gotten a look from people, and even when I interviewed with Montgomery County, I stopped the interview at first and I thought, I don't usually suck at interviews. I've never been told, stop, wait a minute. And they said, wait a minute. Are you aware of what this interview is? You may be overqualified. They sent me home because they said there was a different position, and that's the position I was hired for. The one that I was interviewing for wasn't what I thought. People name things different things, and it actually wasn't the position I thought. But I've always come up against the person who says, she's got a lot of experience. Are we going to have an issue with her being satisfied with what this is? But I like the professional and the personal sense of satisfaction, you know. And when I do something, I give it 100%.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we were able to connect on, obviously, and you mentioned it just briefly, and I just like the word of it, but like being able to empower people. You were doing it through your, at the time, physical fitness and people's physical health, right?
Mm.
And that's something that I really, why we were able to connect, because I really enjoy that aspect. And I, going back to the sort of my history, is I
Mhm.
started as a coach,
Mhm.
right? And that has shifted, which has been a hard mindset, but that has shifted from coaching sports to now coaching people in their careers,
Mhm.
right? And being able to sit them aside, teach them a skill set, a hard skill, right, is probably the easiest thing to teach,
Mhm.
right? Like you with your computers,
Mhm.
right? And sitting down with you throughout your process of, hey, Alexi, this is what you got to do. Um,
That's
to
right.
teaching them the soft skills of leadership or coaching their peers or their
Mhm.
people who report to them. And that's obviously the hardest part of being, I would say, a leader, is you
Yes.
can always, and leaders, and this is some reason why, and I was trying to pull this quote up earlier from Warren Buffett, and was on in my office when I was working with you. It says, surround yourself with people that push you to do better. No drama or negativity, just higher goals, higher motivation, good times and positive energy, no jealousy or hate, simply bringing out the absolute best in each other, right? And that was something that I thought 100% why we had so much fun, right? You had a skill set that I did not have, experience I did not have. You felt the same way, flip flopped on my end of
Yes.
my values and my experience, and we just, like we said, our whole 3 years working together, we were just laughing the whole time.
Yes.
Um, and people were like, "Who's this? Who's this lady over here and this young gentleman over here?" And they're having too much fun, right?
Exactly.
But our center together vibed that. It changed,
Yes.
right? And the community felt it. More people came in. It was a ripple effect. Not that we were
Mhm.
promoting anything differently, but that was what was really cool. And ultimately, I think was an experience for me from being next to you. And you and I talked about this. The position I'm in now, I wasn't sure I wanted to apply for it. And you turned around and said, Spencer, you used another word, but you need to go apply for that job.
Yes, I did.
You could do that job,
Mhm.
and they need you to do that job.
Yes.
And which was a huge encouragement for me, because I knew I'd be letting something that I invested in for 4 or 5
Mm.
years with a team that I really enjoyed and change, right?
Mhm.
And hence why we're doing this podcast. This is outside of my comfort zone, but is exciting to be able to talk about our leadership and styles that we even did during that
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
So going off of that aspect of just your leadership style, how would you state your style has shifted? And then what is it now? Because obviously you've had years of experience of leading people. So when you were back in LA to even now in Maryland, what are different things that you've learned and the styles, and now what would you state your type of style is now?
One of the things that I've learned to do, and that I think you do as well, I try to listen more than I talk. That's not always possible, but I try to do it because people will show you how they need to be led if we listen to them.
Yep.
You may have a group of 30 people. I may have a front desk staff. I may have a middle management staff of 10 people, and all 10 of them need something different from me. So I listen to them and let them show me what they need from me. Earlier in my career, I may have known a couple of ways to do that, and I may have done it that way. But now I don't mind being different things for different people. So I just listen a little more. I'm probably quieter than I was earlier. I don't mind, and this is something that I really, you talk about how I influenced you, but it was always the same thing, because one thing that I did and that you did as well, we weren't afraid to be vulnerable. I was never afraid to say, Spencer, this isn't what I do well. I do this and I do this. Can you show me how to do this better? And you would say, this isn't what I do well. You do that better. Or I might say, you do that better, so you do this part and may I do this part. It's the vulnerability. I think that helps. So I do that more. I show people this isn't what I do well either. So this is where we need to improve. So I think it's just that I do it quieter and I let them show me.
Yeah, so
what they
you
need.
so you I'm just laughing of our experiences. So the concept one, and I'm laughing because I'll share a little bit shorter. This just happened this week. The listening aspect, right, is a
Mhm.
key critical person
Mm.
point of my shifting as well. And so basically listening and then being vulnerable in the state where not necessarily you're sharing personal
Right.
things, right? Because you could do that, but ultimately there's a line to not cross in a
Yes.
professional realm.
Absolutely.
But being vulnerable in the aspect of your weaknesses,
Mhm.
I think that's a key point that some people feel I've seen done. If you're sharing a weakness,
Mhm.
they think then you are weak, right? But
Mhm.
it's more of like, hey, no, weakness in the aspect of vulnerability. I need your strength to help me out, right?
Mhm.
And so like I was just laughing because you were saying this week. I called my boss up and I was like, I'm so proud of. I'm saying this to myself, to her. I'm so proud of myself. And you're gonna laugh. I was in a 2 hour in-person meeting and I only spoke twice. I was like, I'm getting there. I'm learning, boss. I'm learning. So just being able to, and it's funny because we've all been there where you've been in rooms because this room was of 20 people,
Mhm.
and I'm in this room because I'm a subject matter expert on the topic we're talking about.
Mhm.
But I'm also noticing it was just like my dad growing up. My dad did not talk much,
Mhm.
but when he did talk, people listened, right? And so I'd always laugh because like I never saw him talk. And when he did talk, either like especially when I was a teenager, all the other teens that were basically troublemakers would shut up
Mhm.
and basically be and my dad I'd be like, I was like, my dad's not mean, but he's just like comes across stern
Yes.
or informational
Mhm.
in how he talks. And so I was laughing of like the quieter you get. So when I spoke up in this week's meeting, it was the attention was very different when I was speaking compared to
Yes.
almost people talking during the meeting just to fill space. And that's where I think it's interesting because that's a recent change for me to in that aspect of that strength. Because I want um, and you know this for me working with me, I really just want to get to the task and get it completed.
Mhm.
Even though I want people to learn, I want people to get it, but the task, I'm a task completer person. And so learning to slow down, listen to the environment, listen to the people that are talking.
Mhm.
The task is important, but the
Mhm.
people are more. And so how can we engage them to either understand the task or to engage them to make them feel heard about how can we then complete the task moving forward
Mhm.
rather than still being caught up in this other stuff.
Mhm.
Who would you say, Alexia, has had and you could say your mom, but you can cop that out. Who's been the biggest influence on you in your life?
It's definitely my parents. I mean, there is no getting around that for me. As you know,
Yep.
you only have to know me for 10 minutes to know what influence my parents were, hence, Clifton House. They really have made me and my siblings the people that we are. They were not only influential in the community and in their fields, but they were just really amazing, brilliant people. And one of the things that they taught us and that all of us really try to do is leave the world a better place than you found it, and in small ways and in large ways. And that's what I try to do every single day. And that has influenced me personally, professionally, and I think about that with everything that I do. So they're
So,
there.
a little bit, which was really funny because I didn't know, obviously, in the way you introduce yourself, the way you talk, you don't bring in, which is amazing. You don't bring in your parents into the conversation. And so, a little background too for the audience. So, Alexia and I are running a community center, and some community members are coming in. This is a predominantly, if I'm correct, predominantly African American community that we're based in. There are other demographics there, but that's what it was originally based on and created back in the 70s. And some community members come in, go, Alexia Clifton. are you related to that
Mhm.
Clifton poet? And I'm sitting there, I'm next to Alexia, I have no idea what they're talking about. And they're like going on and off about your mom. I felt so blindsided because I was like, I don't even know. I'm sitting next to somebody that's famous because of her mom. And I've been working with you for how many months? So it was just it was really cool because, yeah, like you stated, the way you carry yourself is definitely a reflection of your parents, but you don't lead with them, right? You lead from them and their
Mhm.
influence. And then you're like, yeah, my mom, like very humbly. And then we get into the place of like, as we're actually, I believe we were working together towards the tail end. This is when Clifton
Mhm.
House came into play. And you guys either got grant money or community money, and you started developing the idea of the house you guys grew up in is now into a nonprofit organization. And if you want to share a little bit about that, that'd be awesome. Of where that came about and you and your siblings' idea behind it and what you guys do for the community up there. If that'd be, let's go that direction.
Sure. My dad he worked some for the United Nations. He was a community activist, and he also was one of the people to set up back in the 70s the Black Studies Department at Harvard. He would commute from Buffalo to Massachusetts. My mom was the first African American poet laureate of Maryland, first poet to have a book of poetry nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, two books in the same year. Just a very well-known poet, just really proud of her work. And so she died in 2010, and my family lived in this house in Baltimore from 1967 to 1980. My parents lost the house in 1980 to foreclosure. On the ninth anniversary of my mom's death, my sister in Los Angeles woke up with sort of feeling like the directive to call who was then the current owner of the house and just ask about it. The woman told my sister that she was putting the house on the market that day. My sister said, I got to buy it. She didn't know how she was going to. She didn't know any of that. She just knew I gotta buy it. So, unbeknownst to me and my brother, she told my other sister about it. She bought it. We didn't know that. She came to Baltimore one time on a trip. Meantime, I am calling the realtor saying, could you let us just at least walk through it? That would be wonderful. None of us are looking for a house. We just like to walk through. And she said, no, I don't think that would be great because my sister had bought it and she was trying to surprise us. So my sister told the realtor, tell her no, walk through. Well, I'm the youngest and I'm persistent and I wasn't going to take that no for an answer. So my other sister is telling the sister who bought it, my family nickname is Nene. Nini's on a mission. She's going to call that lady until she lets us walk through. You've got to do something. So Sid finally tells me and my brother they're not going to let us walk through because I'm the one who bought it. We say, what? You bought the house? So fast forward, we get a lot of grant money and things, and the house is now really, Spencer, I got to tell you, 4, 5, 6 years into it, it has become a hub for artists. We are doing so many wonderful things for writers, workshops, residencies, and things out of there. The governor has come and we named the most recent poet laureate, had that ceremony there. It is a sanctuary for artists and for writers, and it is what it was when my parents were alive. It is a labor of love, and we're just so proud of it. It's amazing to be there.
That's awesome.
It really
That's
is.
really awesome. It's really cool to
Yeah.
see, and this is just to see how not only impactful, well, this is what's the hard part of being a parent, right? How impactful your parents made on the world,
Mhm.
but also the immediate impact they did is raising you guys. And sure, we all know our wonderful different family breaks and cultures and how we're not perfect,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Absolutely.
the influence now that though influencing you for to
Mhm.
then now the impact you guys are even making more so, not just with the house that you grew
Yes.
up in,
Mhm.
right? But even the leadership and the things you guys are doing personally in your own
Mhm.
careers. Because you guys are all throughout the country. Um, and so that's been really cool to even establish because I would say, I want to say about 25 years advance of me in your career, and you've gone through different holes and jumps and so forth.
Mhm.
And that's something that's really interesting to me is as I'm raising my 4 kids of like, how do I continue? Because I have just a passion for helping others, but not distracting from my immediate calling of being a
Mhm.
father and a
Yes.
husband. from all of this, I want to bring up, and then we're going to go sort of a different direction. But what would you say was one of the toughest times you've had when you were leading a team or in a leadership role in your career? And then who did you reach out to in that instant?
Well, I guess it probably wouldn't be nice for me to say the place I was working, so
Right,
maybe
right.
I won't do
Yeah.
that. But I was very unhappy with the person, was just sort of a rude, unhappy person themselves that misery comes across. And when people are that miserable,
Is
I
this
have
a
found
supervisor you're speaking of or a company?
this is a supervisor.
Okay, so someone's above you, influencing
She was
you
my
in your
direct
okay, gotcha.
supervisor.
Yep. Mhm.
And I always got the feeling that until and unless everyone else was miserable, she wasn't happy. I'm not really going to follow a direction of someone who wants me to make sure that other people are
Yeah.
unhappy and that they know they won't be promoted and that
Yeah.
they won't ever be told things are good. That's just not me. And this went along for a little while until I finally just said, I can't do this. It's not me. It shouldn't be you. If you're wondering why the vibe and the energy is so bad and we can't keep anyone, these are the reasons why. I'm just going to tell you this truth. You can do with this information what you need to, but I need to be honest about why things are bad around here. During that time, I spoke to someone who had been um, like one of my first bosses in Baltimore when I was first going to open my studio. She was a really good mentor. She had owned a studio that I worked in when I first started doing personal training. And she said, you can never do well if you are trading in your soul for something.
Hmm.
Don't become who you aren't for any job. And that's what I was feeling like this job required. And I could never do that. So I
Yeah.
knew I was right in leaving. And so I left, and things
Yeah.
obviously went much better. But it was just, that was a very unhappy time for me.
Yeah, I like that phrase though. You trading in your soul or your values essentially.
Hmm.
Creating becoming something you're not.
Right.
That's awesome. I like that line.
Mhm.
Um, and then I'm assuming because from that mentor conversation, were you um like how did that conversation influence you to like because I feel like the hardest part of being a leader or being in a leadership role is the conversation of change, right?
Mhm.
So you're leaving somewhere to go to a place you have no clue,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Either sometimes it's you actually have a job lined up, sometimes you don't.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're just moving teams,
Mhm.
but like that concept of change is also really more fearful
Mhm.
than staying in a place that could be toxic.
Mhm.
So was it only that individual person, that mentor that like, hey, push you over the top? Was it your siblings? Was it like how like who pushed you over that line? Or would you say that you naturally, when you feel that gut instinct, you're
Mhm.
like, hey, it's time to move, even if it's gonna be scary, right?
I have always been that person, Spencer. I'm not as I feel like the lesson for me is always to not hold on.
Mm,
I have much more of a problem holding on when I shouldn't than exploring something new.
yeah,
I don't fear change. I hold on too long. If I have an issue with anything, that would be
gotcha.
more what I do. I was ready to leave, but just wanted to say, this is how I'm feeling. You, as a person who has been in the workforce for a long time and has worked with people who were toxic, just confirmed for me I'm doing the right thing. This sounds like a toxic environment, right? It was like that kind of thing that I
Gotcha.
needed from her. I knew that I had to go, and I would have rather had nothing than to continue that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
Mm.
think the hardest thing for me, and you and I've talked about this,
Mhm.
isn't necessarily change,
Mhm.
but it's part of just who I am in the aspect of a loyalty. So
Yes.
not necessarily
Mhm.
loyal to my supervisor or
Mhm.
loyal to an organization,
Mhm.
but loyal to the things I've created and the people I've built up
Yes.
within or around me
Mhm.
to shift into another space or career.
Mhm.
So that was the one of the hardest things from leaving the center you and I worked at.
Yes.
And you
Yes. That
literally
was
like
hard.
basically like stop thinking about me
Mhm. Mhm.
or our team. We're gonna figure it out
Yep.
one way or the other.
Mhm.
Like this is gonna be best for you, your
Yes.
career, your family.
Yep.
And that's what sort of pushed me over the
Mhm.
top, even though that sounds funny, like, you were my employee at the time. So, "No, leave us, Spencer. Like, we don't want you anymore." No. So
That was hard because I didn't
yeah,
want you to go,
yeah.
but I also knew you absolutely had to. You'd earned it, and it would be selfish of us to have you stay. You were ready. You just didn't know it.
I still don't know it, but that's okay. So what from your years of working and being in leaderships from fitness to helping out in Baltimore,
Mhm.
to other things, what would you say what has been one of the coolest or proudest moments? And this is gonna be
Ooh.
the hard part, I feel like, for you and I of like in your leadership career, what were
Mm.
you most proud of your team, of what you've accomplished throughout that? And you could have more than one, but just what's one thing that sticks out to you?
Gosh, there have been many, which I'm proud of the fact that there have been many.
Yeah.
Thinking about the that we did together. I'm thinking about that back to school
Mhm.
giveaway. That was fantastic until you dressed up as that bird and scared me in the office.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
It was
afraid
a
of
it
birds.
was a turkey, first off, it wasn't I mean, I guess a
Turkeys
turkey
are
is a
birds,
bird,
aren't they?
but yeah, that was funny.
I'm afraid of birds. And Spencer decided to dress up as one and come behind me in the
Luckily,
office.
HR wasn't a part of that conversation afterwards, but,
We did a
yeah,
back to
we
school
had a good
giveaway.
time.
It was
Yeah, that I
how many
forgot I mean,
backpacks did we give away?
we gave over 1,000 backpacks out, and we had about 3,000 community members come through that day. It
Yes.
was incredible. It was a moment that you and I probably will always remember.
Yes.
And then some people, you and I both work the same way of like, hey, events happen and we're moving.
Yes.
We're not standing still.
Mm-mm.
I had multiple people, partners that were there because we had over 40 partners there.
Mhm.
Um, like telling me to slow down.
Mhm. I know
But
it.
I'm like, what are you talking about? We got 3,000 people here.
We
Like
never sat
we
down.
can't
I
we
know I
can't sit
didn't,
down.
right?
We can sit down at 2 o'clock when all the tables are picked up, ready to
Yes.
go. But that I would say
Yes.
for me,
I
that
was
was also one of my
yes,
highlights.
really proud of that. I've been involved in many of those. That was one of the, if not the best. We did something here in Montgomery County. We did a senior adventure day, and the seniors go on trips for 2 days, and then on the last day, they stay inside one of the community or recreation centers, and you have a theme day.
Uh,
And we did game shows throughout the years. And I went to one of the centers where the staffs are really, really shy, but I had a role for everybody to play. So the staff members that are really shy, I had them be certain people, and some of them were coming up to it and just like shake, but they actually did it. I was so proud of them that day because it was a little thing, but a big thing. They did Family Feud and they were the host of that and Jeopardy and
I thought
Deal
you were
or No
about to say
Deal.
that you did Soul Train or something out there too, but I guess that
Well,
didn't happen. You didn't want to
they
create
I
that
did
event.
do Soul Train, but
And I mean, in the community seniors, that's more of their time too. So I didn't know if you wanted to pull
some of them
some old
not
stuff
so
out.
good. Not so good.
Alexia, for all those, Alexia is a dancer. Like she is an excellent dancer, and she pulls that into her fitness classes, which is one reason why people love it because she's got this bubbly personality. One of also the highlights of our relationship was when I got to be one of her backup dancers during our COVID experience
And
and
that's
got
how he
to
got the
show off
name
some of my
Silky
moves.
Slim.
So, show off some of my moves in those fitness classes, and some of the seniors and directors were like, I didn't know Spencer could actually move his feet.
That's right. Spencer
So
did great.
so it was experience. That was experience too.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, no, those are I think you can hear it in our voices. Like we just have a passion for um community, a passion for like our staff and pushing them. I think that's one of the funny parts. One of our staff members who worked for us always always said, Spencer, why you always gotta put me outside my comfort zone? I'm
I
like,
know
well,
who that is.
yeah, we both know. And they'll know when they're listening to this too. So I mean, it's not necessarily, I try to push people to make them completely uncomfortable. Cause I always feel like where I push people as a coach is something that I know they can accomplish, right? I'm not setting a goal that I know they're not hitting, but I'm
Mhm.
setting a goal. It might take them a little bit longer to get to it, but I always try to push them outside of that and think outside the box. And that's one thing that you taught me too, of different angles and experiences that you had. And that's where I think also too in leadership, and that's why it was part of my intro, is like it's not about the title you have, right?
Mm.
Like I literally felt like there was times where you were leading, but I was just behind you, right? Or vice versa. Like
Mhm.
it's a person's personality.
Mhm.
It is, I read a quote literally 2 days ago and I shared it. Like, I'm not a fan of companies' values, right? I'm a fan of companies' behaviors,
Yes.
right? And so you might tell somebody that the company's values is innovation, right? But how does that help my staff?
Right.
Like, what are you trying to have them actually do? And then they understand more of that about their behavior or
Mhm.
what we're trying to be a part of.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's been really cool to continue to try to push people past what they think their limits are.
Yes.
And like even today, as we go through some restructuring in our county, in our division, some people are worried, but some people aren't because they don't have a fixed mindset, right? And that is also something that I feel like can be taught, but it's also something really hard to change. So with change, what would you say has been the biggest mistake or error that you would say you made as a leader in the past? And then what did you do about when you realized it?
I think that's a great question. Probably thinking that it had to look one way. I think early on, I probably thought that. Seeing that it didn't. I think one of the best ways to learn something, and you and I used to talk about this, and we would talk about it with jobs, with relationships. I would always joke and say, knowing what I don't like is half the battle. Knowing that you made a mistake with it will help you not make that mistake again. When I saw that, this doesn't work. It doesn't work. It isn't, here's the answer. So I won't do that again. And that was when I learned what I mentioned earlier, that let me let them tell me what they need rather than me saying, "Oh, leadership, this is where I do this, and this is where I do this, and this is the part where I hand them this." Let them tell me. So I think thinking it had to look a certain way by a certain time. Okay, 30 minutes in, here's where I say this. An hour in, here's where I do this. Okay, you've been here 2 months, here's where I teach you this. Learn from them. And that'll happen, which is one of the things that I think we both did really well, practice what we preach. They saw us do it, and you can't say a lot of stuff and do something else.
Mm.
People watch what you do more than they listen,
Yeah.
and that has helped, I think.
Yeah. When you go down that realm of listening or asking the question,
Hmm.
it unfortunately doesn't happen as often as I think it should, even when we're doing it now, right? And because most people are tied to a timeline of some sort.
Hmm.
Could it be a budget for the year? Could
Hmm.
it be, hey, event that's coming up? Could it be someone's retiring? There's some timeline somewhere in our existence in whatever you're leading. Could be, hey, I got to get a book published, or
Hmm.
I got to get my kids to school. I got to get the budget for the years coming up. And the more I've noticed as a leader, the more times I have the chance to ask my staff questions and to have them give me feedback one way or another, even if I can't take all of their suggestions, that has made a bigger impact on if they follow me or support me relative to anything.
Hmm.
One of the cool things is when I first got into this new position, I think I told you, I spent the next 3 months, because at the time I think I had about 180 staff under me. I took the supervisors of that. So there was about 40, 40 people, and I met with them in groups of 3 and 4.
Hmm.
And I had no agenda other than to hear their story.
Hmm.
How did you get there? What did you want to do? What do you want to do in the next 5 years? Like, and
Hmm.
I didn't do it one-on-one, and I didn't do it with their supervisor. So it was just me speaking to them
Hmm.
as people, not even about their position.
Right.
Right. And that helped create a baseline of I'm actually trying to get to know them for who they are first, why they're even there. Some of them
Hmm.
were there for the money, some of them there for the career, some of
Hmm.
them were with the relationships. They wanted to stay there until they retired. Some of them wanted to go to the next step. Some of them said it up front, like, hey, I'm only got 2 years left or whatever it may be. But even just going into there and asking questions about them, because one thing I think you and I have talked about, and I think that's what makes this podcast easy, people love talking about themselves. So so you going in and asking about them and not trying to get intimate of like whatever it may be, but finding out their passions and what they're desired for,
Mhm.
like they'll just go. Like you gotta use, I blocked an hour and a half, and half the time I hit that hour and a half mark with these people. So it wasn't, and that was the whole purpose, right? To create a barrier, break down a barrier, and to learn who they are,
Mhm.
who they want to be. And one of the big lines, I guess, that I can coming out recently with our small division is always thinking that everything is done with a positive intent,
Mhm.
right? And going that direction.
Mhm.
And so when I had that initial conversation and I made an error and a mistake, because I've made multiple and if not hundreds,
Sure.
I also then state to my staff, hey, I made a mistake
Mhm.
or I made an error. Can you help me correct this?
Yes.
Not, hey, this just needs to be switched. And unfortunately, that is, I want to say, the biggest difference between anywhere from leaders to good leaders to great leaders
Yes.
is the vulnerability,
Yes.
right? Of like, here's my weaknesses, but not only
Yes.
just weaknesses, but here's when I mess up.
Yes.
Because people then understand we're not in it to catch you doing wrong.
Mhm.
I want you to be, and that's why I joke with the word innovative. I want you to go and push the limit, and then I'll pull you back when you're too far.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
like you just keep going, and
Exactly.
people be like, well, but I also expect the standard to be hit, right? And so
Absolutely.
coming in with that, but that's the hardest part. I feel like is people don't, as leaders,
Mhm.
I would say put this in a leadership position, not leaders, but
Yes.
people in leadership positions assume that it's just their way, and then they don't honor when they do make mistakes and errors with their staff.
That accountability factor. This happened to me recently. My supervisor said to myself, and I think there were two coordinators, I had forgotten to do something. And she said, well, you and this person and this person. I said, me. I forgot. They didn't. I did. And she wasn't angry or anything. She just needed to know who it was. I said, it's not you all. I forgot. Alexia did. She said, oh, okay. And she moved on. But
Hmm.
I needed her to know that I did. That makes such a huge difference. She said, oh, okay. Thanks for telling me. Gotta be accountable, and it's a mistake. We're human. Makes a big difference when people know they can trust you. And that's the other factor that I thought made a huge difference for you. Our staff trusted you, made a big difference. Other people came in and they didn't as much. People can tell the difference, even if they can't articulate it, even if they say there's just something about the other person I don't like. I don't know what it is, but I'm gravitating toward this. They trusted you. That's got to be the baseline.
I was I was on a phone call this morning too, because we part of my position is helping staff lead kids, and I was jokingly talking about when you're leading a bunch of kids, they know when you're sincere and you want to be there and when you don't want to be there,
Shoot.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to him and said, same concepts for adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily in the aspect of when you want to be there, when you want to not be there, but more for the sincerity purpose. When you ask a question, they shouldn't, if you're doing it the correct way, there should be no end goal in play, right? It should be, hey, I'm sincerely asking you this question. And then the aspect of trust is there.
Yes.
One of the things that I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek is he brings his board up of talking about different areas of employment or teams.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks specifically about the Marines. And basically, obviously, everyone wants the person that is trusted and a high performer, right? Everybody wants that. It's
Yeah.
the unicorn in the room. The question is, though, us as in any workforce, there's no way to measure trust, right? Other than a gut feeling, per se, or someone that keeps their word. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not documented anywhere. And so the only thing is documented is their performance aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the hardest part too,
Mm-hmm.
is you're trying to find out if this person's trustworthy to lead your team. And most of the time, either they're not, or they just don't have the skill set yet to do it. And so it's encouraging in this podcast of just being able to talk people through. Yes, everyone wants the person to lead their team that's a high performer, everyone trusts, but there's not many out there. And so how do you establish encouragement to those that do trust, that people trust, and you see it as management, and then teach them the other skills in the process? Maybe they're not a high performer. Maybe they're average, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're getting the job done, but they're not going to be always above and beyond every single time.
Mhm.
And I think that's a difficult concept, especially with me working in government.
Mhm.
It's because I joked when we hired you, it's like, you can go private sector, make a lot more than what we're going to make now.
Mhm.
And every time I do an interview now, I'm very honest of like, if you're doing this for the money, you might as well stop now.
Yeah.
If you have a passion to be in government and lead communities and people and employees and so forth, and you can normally notice that in that interaction, because as soon as you talk about money, people's eyes either go up or down, right? And so it's not an
They don't
interview
keep looking
question.
right at you.
It's
They
not an
do
interview
change.
question. It's not an interview question, but you know that the aurora and the energy all of a sudden shifts in the room. And that's sort of something that I've been teaching. One of my skills, I would say, is I love teaching people how to interact with other people and teach them the hiring process within our division, and the ins and outs. But the
Mhm.
aspect of physically sitting in a room with somebody and interviewing them is a skill in itself.
Yes.
And it's something that can be taught over a period of time, but is not something that's taught immediately. And so that's the other case is we're now bringing people in my agency. We're bringing people in the room that actually supervise these people, and they're the ones signing off on them. Where in the past, someone in the above would be pulling and just throwing people in spaces.
Mm.
And so we've now empowered our
Wow.
staff to be in the room to be able to hire these staff. And sure, they don't hire the right people sometimes, but
Mhm.
they're now picking those people and they're now realizing, hey, I picked them, so I got to coach them, right?
Okay.
Rather than being angry at whoever hired them
Mhm.
and not dealing with the problem. And so it creates this empowerment, but also this energy of being able to do this. I joked with some of a new person that I've been, we're really good friends, but he just hired his first two new people. He was one of our first people doing it at that level. Hired two people in September. They're both gone. I said, "Yo, for two, buddy."
Wow.
But they left on their own accord, right? So it's like, but it was just like it was like, hey, you're now realizing like it takes time. I mean, you and I talked about it, and I got to interview you. I didn't hire you technically, but
Mhm.
like I had before you, I had interviewed over 400 people,
Mhm.
and I made my mistakes,
Yeah.
but I also hit
Sure.
some ones out of the park, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and so it's just been really cool to, as a supervisor and as a leader, it is a skill to learn what type of people you physically want to be around to be able to create a team that has this awesome energy and performance.
Mhm.
And that's something I take pride. I'm going into the proud question. The team I currently have of leaders that are underneath me, I hold them to a standard of accountability, and they're probably the highest performing team members in the county in our agency. And people either want to work for me or they don't want to work for me, but all they know is they're working for me, they're going to be working. But like you and I do, we're laughing the whole time we're doing it
Mhm.
because you got to. Like
Mhm.
you're in a community, you're not doing it for the money. So yes, people hate this phrase, but like you got to be a family.
Mhm.
You got to be able to laugh and joke and make fun when things are funny, hold each other accountable. Like
Yes.
we talked about you and your brother and
Mhm.
me and my brothers, like
Mhm.
you love each other,
Mhm.
but and you also hate each other at the same time, and you also
Exactly.
want to call each other out. So there is a family dynamic,
Right.
but they're not your family in the aspect they're not attached to you 24/7. But that concept is something that I've been learning to like. It's nothing against them, but
Mhm.
there's a standard and there's a lesson
Yes.
every single time.
Yes. I mean, you're together all day.
Mhm.
And you have to make it that. And when you naturally fall into that, you can't beat it. And that's what we had. And it has been interesting for me because I'm happy here. I've had other teams, but you can't get this again. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The
Yeah,
ability. So
it
that's
was a
wonderful.
awesome dynamic when
Mhm.
we worked together for about 3 years. We had yourself
Mhm.
long into your career, coming back to working with community and fitness
Mhm.
right after COVID,
Mhm.
to my man Brian Litton,
Yeah.
awesome
Mhm.
energy, loves community,
Mhm.
and we joked about it because he knew his weaknesses.
Mhm.
Because we talked about it all the
Yeah.
time. We knew yours was computers.
Mhm.
We knew his was a timeline,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then we had our other awesome teammate with Priya,
Mhm.
who was her aspect of, I'm trying to think of the word, when things became uptight or a timeline was coming, she'd get
Yes.
tense,
Mhm.
right? And she felt like she wasn't going to be able to hit it, right?
Mhm.
Because she was a perfectionist. But we also had all of our positives that
Yep.
we're able to balance each other out.
Yes.
Brian, amazing MC, could run
Mm.
anything and everything, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You and your community engagement, being able to walk in, talk to anybody, make anyone feel welcome.
Mhm.
Priya, administrative wise,
Mhm.
fantastic, right?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
we were able to work with each other's strengths and weaknesses
Yes.
to create this fun family
It was awesome.
and run around in turkey suits, right? In our different holiday events. And our families, if our families were involved, right? My kids would come,
Yeah.
Priya's daughter would come. Like they were a part of this fun environment and got to see, like, even still to this day, my oldest is like, when am I gonna see when are we gonna go back to my old workplace? And I'm like, well, unfortunately I
Oh,
don't work there anymore. So
Charlie.
yeah, so it's just like that concept of like they're a part of this positive, fun
Yes.
energy and they're like they want to come to daddy's work,
Mhm.
which is also an exciting moment because they get to see like what I do, right? Now it's a little different, obviously, because I see multiple centers, but
Yeah.
that is also a concept too, which was a struggle. And I know you've done it too. Of like
Mhm.
you go from being responsible for about 25 people
Mhm.
and you see them almost every day, at
Mhm.
least every week, to now me being overseeing 250 people.
Mhm.
I only have 10 direct reports.
Mhm.
I have 26 different facilities.
Mhm.
How do you create that culture when you don't have the time, you don't have the bandwidth
Mhm.
in the aspect of what you want?
Mhm.
How do you make your team of the 250 feel valued?
Right.
And that is what has shifted my mindset of, hey, I then now have to invest in those 10
Mhm.
harder
Yes.
because I want them, like you joked, everyone's different and they all know
Yep.
their strengths too. We've talked
Yes.
about my different teams.
Mhm.
They all have their different strengths amongst
Mhm.
each other, but being able to invest in all of those 10 and also create the network of those 10
Mhm.
so they have each other. So if I ever did disappear,
Mhm.
right? They have the support of at least one to
Mhm.
two or more people that they can lean on. And it's not them because our work is anybody's work is
Mhm.
hard. And if you don't have someone to talk to about it or brainstorm with it, it's taxing,
Mhm.
right?
It is. Yes.
And so that's why I think you and I also did. Like we joked, like there'd be times when you were getting your second coffee, we just go on a coffee break, your
Exactly.
half calf, half non calf
That's what I
afternoon
got.
drink to get just a 15-minute, let's go to Dunkin', let's go back, let's
Exactly.
decompress, and
Let's
then
go
let's
get some
jump
air.
back in.
Come on out.
Yep. So, but yeah, so going into this sort of last question that I have for you, what's one piece of advice that you would give or say to someone who's just trying to become a better supervisor, a better leader amongst them themselves?
Think we have been alluding to this so far, and I think it would be don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't let the fear of making a mistake stop you from connecting with someone because someone would rather you make a mistake than not reach out. So don't let fear of making a mistake stop you. I've seen
That's
people do that, and I've seen people not do it. And those people who don't let that fear stop them make a bigger impact.
yeah, I think fear that's a whole nother
Mhm.
topic in itself.
Yeah, we
Um,
gotta be.
oh, Alexia, thank you for coming on and having this conversation with me. I wanna jump into my car and go give you a big hug for sharing all your story uh, and your insight on just your experiences in leadership. You've seen everything in the public and the private and the nonprofit aspect of things. Just really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be here.
My
Um,
pleasure.
and set and continue this tone that I'm hoping to create with the Y Factor Leadership Unlocked podcast. For everyone that's finished up listening today, thank you. Please follow if you have that. If you have any ideas, please let me know of what you'd like to talk about or different people you think I should interview. And then for today, I hope whether it's a new idea, a bit of inspiration, or just a reminder that leadership isn't about being perfect and being able to make a mistake. It's about showing up, learning, helping others grow along the way. If you've enjoyed this, please follow, leave a quick review, share with other people that you know that are trying to grow as a leader, and just be able to spread that. I've got awesome guests coming up in these other future podcasts from all different backgrounds, within government, without outside of government, each with their own take on what leadership means to them. So definitely stay tuned. And thanks again for listening. Remember, know your why and lead with a purpose.